Live from the National News Studio, Sri Lanka.
Hello there, good evening and a warm welcome to the 9 p.m. news of the most prestigious channel in Sri Lanka. Bringing you stories from across the globe and stories here at home, I'm Sonal Paritana.
Good evening, I'm Dilanjali Ananda and these are the top stories for tonight.
Electricity trade union action ends. Duties as usual after the restructuring of Ceylon Electricity Board. President invites all to win external challenges targeting the economy not individually but by a collective action amidst the Middle East war situation. Gas prices in the country increased parallel to the increase in world gas prices. No hike in bakery products despite the increase in fuel and gas prices. Prime Minister explores new opportunities to develop the agricultural sector of this country during her Philippines visit. Moving on with your top local news story for tonight, the trade union action started by several trade unions of the Ceylon Electricity Board has been suspended.
This decision has been taken following discussions held with the representatives of trade unions, Commissioner of Labour and chairpersons of the electricity companies held this evening. Several trade unions of the Electricity Board started a trade union action at 3 p.m. on the 9th of this month. Following the talks held at the Ministry of Labour, the trade unions decided to suspend the trade union action from 5 p.m. today. Accordingly, the trade unions and chairpersons of the newly established electricity companies signed memorandums of understanding pursuant to the clause 12 of 1 of the Labour Dispute Act.
According to new company chairman, duties are being conducted as usual after the restructuring of the Ceylon Electricity Board. They also stressed that all employees are dedicated for a continuous supply of electricity. Dr. B.L. Pradeep Priyadarshan Pereira, chairman of the National System Operator Private Limited, stated that the primary responsibility of the National Systems Operator is to manage electricity generated by both the power board's generation companies and private sector generation companies in a way that meets the instantaneous demand. He explained that electricity is then delivered to consumers through transmission and distribution companies. He further stated that hydroelectric and thermal power plants as well as private sector power plants are currently operating as usual. Professor J.G.A. Saliya Jayasekara, chairman of the Electricity Generation Lanka Private Limited, said that all power plants in the country are generating electricity properly. He added that all employees of the Sri Lanka Electricity Generation Company are carrying out their duties at the power plants without engaging in any disruptive actions. Engineer Rohita Jayaratna, chairman of the Electricity Distribution Lanka Private Limited, clarified that except for one institution, the entire electricity distribution system falls under his organization. He added that there are 4 distribution divisions under the institution. Divisions 1, 2, 3 and 4, which were previously operated under the Ceylon Electricity Board, will continue to function in the same manner today. Commenting on the ongoing trade union actions, he said employees have the right to fight for their rights and emphasized that the institution does not oppose such actions. However, he noted that if consumers are facing difficulties, necessary steps must be taken to restore normal operations as quickly as possible. As a former engineer of the Electricity Board, he appealed to employees to support efforts to restore normalcy in consideration of the difficulties faced by the public. Nusit Kumaratunga, chairman of the National Transmission Network Service Provider Private Limited, said the company had officially commenced operations only on the previous day and had not performed any official duties. He explained that they had waited until the 11th to begin discussions with trade unions representatives, noting that the unions had presented 3 main areas of demands. The first was that none of the privileges employees enjoyed while working at the Electricity Board should be reduced. The second was that employees should receive benefits greater than what they had been previously receiving. The third consisted of 64 specific demands, most of which were related to the privileges that have been enjoyed under the Ceylon Electricity Board. Kumaratunga said that out of the 64 demands, 59 had already been granted, leaving 5 outstanding issues. Out of those 5, he said 3 would be discussed with the relevant minister before providing a final decision, which had been argued upon at around 4 p.m. And he added that 3 of the demands related to the payment of a bonus equivalent to 1.5 months' salary, similar to what was provided under the CEB, which had already been agreed upon. He further explained that employees currently receive a cost of living allowance of 10,000 rupees along with an additional 1,000 rupees.
President Andrew Dissanayake says that external challenges caused to the economy in the face of the Middle East war have to be won not individually but through collective action. The President made this observation addressing the annual General Meeting 2026 of Sri Lankan Entrepreneurs Board held yesterday in the afternoon. The 2026 annual General Meeting of the Sri Lanka Entrepreneurs Board was held this year under the theme From Generation to Generation, Today for a Stronger Tomorrow. Entrepreneurs and a large number of businessmen, including a group of others, also joined the meeting. President Andrew Dissanayake stated that the current global conflicts had significantly disrupted international goods and services supply chains, adding that any shock in the global arena inevitably affected Sri Lanka as well. He emphasized that the country must consider building its economy in a way that would enable it to withstand such external shocks. The President pointed out that crude oil prices had increased sharply in recent weeks, adding that the beginning of March, a barrel of crude oil had been priced at around $70 but had now risen to $100, marking an increase of roughly 42%. He added that prices were fluctuating constantly, creating uncertainty in the market. According to him, oil companies were facing serious uncertainty. Insurance costs were increasing and some oil tenders have been cancelled, as businesses were reluctant to engage in transactions in such an unpredictable environment. President Dissanayake further noted that the future trend of oil prices depend largely on how long the war continued. He remarked that as long as that uncertainty remained, it would be impossible to define the oil market with certainty. He also observed that public behavior shaped by past experiences was contributing to anxiety, recalling that people had previously died while waiting in fuel and gas queues. As a result, the President said even a small disturbance in the oil market could trigger long queues once again. He appealed to the public to face the situation collectively, stressing that no individual could secure themselves alone in such circumstances. The President said that if everyone bore a small share of the burden and faced the challenge together, the country would be able to overcome it. Speaking further, he explained that 57% of petroleum in Sri Lanka was currently held by the Ceylon Petroleum Corporation, while 43% was held by external entities. He acknowledged that private sector oil supplies naturally operated with business and profit considerations. Therefore, he urged that national fuel consumption should be reduced to a more manageable level, suggesting that usage should even be brought below the current level. President Dissanayake also compared the current situation with the economic crisis of 2022, explaining that the earlier crisis had occurred because Sri Lanka lacked the foreign currency required to import oil. He noted that the country did not face that specific problem at present. According to him, any potential crisis now would most likely arise from disruptions in global supply chains rather than an inability to pay for imports. The President further stated that the government was already discussing alternative arrangements with friendly nations and partner companies to ensure energy security. He said the government's primary responsibility was to maintain a continuous supply of energy, warning that any failure in that regard could threaten the economic progress the country had achieved within a short period. He added that the government could currently guarantee an uninterrupted energy supply for a maximum of 2 months. However, he cautioned that if the war continued beyond that period, the situation would become extremely difficult to predict, noting that even the global community would struggle to forecast the consequences. In conclusion, President Dissanayake assured the public that the government would take full responsibility for maintaining an uninterrupted energy supply during the next 2 months. While acknowledging that prices might fluctuate, he reiterated the government's commitment to ensuring supply and said internal strategies had already been prepared to handle domestic challenges. However, he admitted that addressing external shocks would take more time. He urged the public to face the current global volatility together with the government. Emphasizing the need for responsible consumption and a balanced economic approach, the president said that nations that had survived global crises had done so by practicing restraint, and he called on the people of Sri Lanka to adopt a careful and disciplined approach to consumption so that the country could overcome the crisis collectively.
Amidst the military conflict in the Middle East, world gas prices have risen sharply due to disruptions in global supply. The greatest impact has been felt in the European region, which is currently passing through the final stages of the winter season.
From February 28, when the Middle East conflicts began, the total gas price increase in European Union countries exceeds 70%. This is due to gas consumption remaining at a high level during the winter season until the end of March. European countries have been deprived of Russian gas via pipelines due to sanctions, and gas supplies have been hampered by the closure of the Strait of Hormuz. Approximately 20% of the world's daily oil and LNG supply is transported through this strait. Furthermore, Qatar has temporarily suspended gas production due to the conflicts. The increase in wholesale gas prices in the United Kingdom is reported at 75%. The government of that country has reviewed energy prices and has also taken steps to activate emergency gas reserves. Although the impact of the United States is relatively lower as it produces gas domestically, gas prices in the country have risen by 17% due to the price hike in the global market. The United States is currently working to keep gas prices stable to ensure energy supplies to its allied nations. Pakistan is facing a severe energy crisis due to the disruption of LNG supplies from the Gulf region. As a result, the government has decided to introduce a 4-day work week for the state institutions, close schools, and cut the salaries of government officials. India imports 85% to 95% of its gas requirements from the Middle East. The Indian Oil Corporation and other state refineries have increased the price of a 14.2 kilogram domestic LPG cylinder by 7%. Accordingly, the price of a gas cylinder has risen from 853 to 913 Indian rupees. Steps have also been taken to increase the price of 19 kilogram commercial cylinder used for hotels and restaurants from 1,768 to 1,883 Indian rupees. The United States President Donald Trump states that he is prepared to temporarily ease certain oil and gas-related sanctions he has imposed to control the rapid rise in global energy prices. Foreign media reports indicate that following a telephone conversation with Russian President Vladimir Putin, Russia is considering increasing the supply of oil and gas to the global market. The International Energy Agency has held an emergency meeting with the participation of 32 member states to discuss the energy crisis. Fatih Birol, the executive director of the agency, states that the member countries must release their fuel reserves into the market to control the crisis. The United Nations Trade and Development Body warns that global food prices could rise due to the blockage of the Strait of Hormuz. The organization points out that this will further increase the cost of living, especially for the vulnerable communities. The United Nations Trade and Development Body further states that 38% of the global crude oil supply, 19% of liquid gas requirements, and 1/3 of the world's fertilizer are transported through the Strait of Hormuz. The organization also emphasizes that due to the rise in energy and transportation costs, food prices worldwide will increase, intensifying the cost of living pressure. The United Nations Trade and Development Body has warned that the impact will be felt more severe in the Asian regions, which receives 84% of the benefits from the trade conducted through the sea route.
On an update of the local gas price, the price of Litro gas has been increased. Litro Gas Company says that the price hike is effective from last midnight. Accordingly, price of 12.5 domestic gas cylinder has been increased by 300 rupees up to the new price 3,990 rupees. 5 kilogram domestic gas cylinder has been increased by 120 rupees to the new price of 1,602 rupees. 2.3 kilogram domestic gas cylinder is now sold at 750 rupees with a hike of 56 rupees.
Economic Surveillance Committee met yesterday at the President's office. The role of the committee is to secure the economic stability of Sri Lanka in the face of external influence and to safeguard the welfare of its citizens. This committee has been established under the concept of President Anura Kumara Dissanayake. It convened last evening under the patronage of Minister Dr. Anil Jayantha Fernando, Governor of the Central Bank Dr. Nandalal Veerasinghe, Secretary to the Treasury and the Minister of Economic Affairs Dr. Harchana Surya Peruma, Senior Advisor to the President on Digital Economy Hans Vijay Surya, Senior Economic Advisor to the President Duminda Hulangamua, Secretary to the Minister of Industries and Entrepreneurship Development Tilaka Jayasundara, and several heads of essential services are included in the committee. They focus attention on the measures that should be taken immediately in the face of economic instability erupted at the global level.
Now, Sri Lanka commemorated the IRA Day today by officially opening the IRA Excellence Centre for Marine Sciences and Environment. This hybrid event, organised by the Sri Lanka Marine University with the help of IRA Centre and Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Foreign Employment and Tourism, was attended by Deputy Minister Arun Hemachandra. This event stresses Sri Lanka's continuous dedication to strengthen regional cooperation in ocean administration and promoting environmental sustainability, focusing special attention of Sri Lanka towards the Association of Indian Ocean Rim Countries. This year's theme of enhancing our life condition by stressing the exact benefits of regional cooperation in securing the well-being of communities living over the Indian Ocean region was highlighted at the ceremony. Expressing his views, the Deputy Minister underscored Sri Lanka's role and the importance of strengthening partnership within the Indian Ocean region and promoting the sustainable development on ocean-based activities. The Deputy Minister also noted that the IRA Excellence Centre would play an essential role as a centre for feasibility development, exchanging knowledge and research activities based on archaeological value throughout the Indian Ocean region. Message of the Central Secretary or the General Secretary of our organisation, Sanjay Ranjan, was declared online that this ceremony. In line with the opening of our Excellence Centre, a series of webinars have been organised to forge the dialogue aimed to solving major oceanic and environmental issues throughout the Indian Ocean region. The keynote address of the opening webinar was delivered by Professor of Western Australian University, Charita Patiarachi. Later, interactive Q&A session was also held in this connection.
The committee of officials appointed to implement the cabinet decisions regarding government-owned non-commercial institutions met yesterday under the guidance of the President Anura Kumara Dissanayake at the President's office. Attention has been paid to aspects such as the non-updating of government-owned non-commercial institutions, the powers entrusted on them being insufficient or not proportionate, private sector fulfilling activities of those institutions more efficiently, and the existence of several institutions similar or equal. The Cabinet issued decisions regarding future action to be taken under 9 categories for such 124 institutions. The Committee of Officials has been entrusted with the responsibility of reporting to the Cabinet quarterly and the progress of implementing those decisions. According to the supervision of the committee, the President called upon this committee to review the current position in implementing the cabinet decisions, problems arisen during the implementation of concerned decisions for certain institutions, and future actions to be taken in resolving those problems. Chairman of the committee, Secretary to the Prime Minister Pradeep Saputantri, and other members joined this occasion.
Prime Minister Dr. Harini Amarasuri today engaged in an inspection visit at the head office of International Paddy Research Institute in Lobanos in Philippines. She met the Director General of the Institute, Yon Pinto, and held a discussion at length to further strengthen existing cooperation between the two parties for sustainable development at the agricultural sector and paddy cultivation in Sri Lanka.
They focus special attention on the challenges faced by paddy farmers in Sri Lanka. The Prime Minister discussed the barriers against paddy production, influence of climatic changes, and pointed out the need to direct the farming community towards innovative technical strategies. Concerns were raised on growing capacity of Sri Lankan agricultural entities, creating partnership on research sector, and broadening the programs to share know-how in the paddy cultivation sector. Prime Minister Dr. Harini Amarasuri also held talks with the senior officials of the Asian Development Bank. They focused attention on strengthening development cooperation between Asian Development Bank and Sri Lanka and seeking opportunities to further strengthen the future cooperation. With a warm welcome to the Premier, Chairman of the Asian Development Bank, Master Okhanda, praised Sri Lanka for its efforts taking to stabilize the economy following the recent economic crisis. The Prime Minister expressed her gratitude to the head of the Asian Development Bank for the assistance extended at the time of the cyclone disaster. She also appreciated the Asian Development Bank for its wider development cooperation given to Sri Lanka. Prime Minister Dr. Harni Amarasuriya also met with the Vice Chairman of the Asian Development Bank, Ying Ming Yang, and reviewed the progress of Sri Lankan projects funded by the Asian Development Bank. Later, the Premier joined the discussion regarding educational policies in Manila. At the meeting, she raised concerns towards regional education systems, policy cooperation, and matters pertaining to strengthening educational and skill development framework.
The March 12 movement is to issue their biannual report tomorrow. The movement was formed 11 years back and it will look into as to how the government will fulfill the promises given in their election manifesto. The executive director of the PAFREL, Rohan Hettiarochi, disclosed these views at a press conference held in Colombo today.
The March 12 movement established in 2015. Tomorrow is we are celebrating our 11th birthday as March 12 movement. But most importantly, we are issuing our biannual report, the manifesto on the present government, the NPP government, which was produced prior to the elections. We have seriously looked at the manifesto promises. 4 areas we have looked at during last 6-month period from June to December. Mainly we considered the cabinet decisions which was taken by the cabinet last 6 months, whether these cabinet decisions align with the manifesto. The relevance, mainly looking at the relevances and the efficiency and effectiveness, is little challenging for us. I mean, looking at within a very shorter period, but mostly we are looking at the relevance and efficiency at the moment. So the parliamentary lawmaking during this period, what are the laws they have brought up to implement the manifesto? And then we are looking at the executive decisions. What are the executive decisions the president has taken during this period, and how whether it's made any impact to implement the manifesto. And finally, we have looked at the budgetary allocations for 2025, which has issued the report. In the previous report also we have mentioned that, but we are looking at the 2026 budget also, how their budget allocations, whether it is aligned with the manifesto promises. In overall, we are trying to look at the entire year progress. Mainly this report focuses on 6 months, June to December, but in overall we are trying to look at the government, the level of success for the entire year from November 2024 up to December 2025. So you will get the overall picture whether the government is in the right path to deliver their promises.
A panel of distinguished financial experts recently convened to outline a roadmap for Sri Lanka's economic resilience. Led by Chartered Accountants Sri Lanka President Tishan Subasinghe, the discussion focused on leveraging strategic opportunities within the global market to ensure long-term stability.
Panelists including Mustafa Jeffrey and Dr. Niroshan Pereira highlighted positive strategies to optimize trade balance and manage fuel imports efficiently. The experts noted that by strengthening ties with migrant workers in the Gulf, Sri Lanka can further stabilize foreign remittances and bolster national reserves. Arjuna Herath, Odishan Jones and Ashoka Rupasinghe emphasized that proactive financial management and sound policy operations will provide the necessary buffer for exchange rate stability. The session concluded on a high note with a shared vision for building a more robust and prepared economy through collaborative strategic responses.
So you are not going to get a solution for the crisis in the next few months. And anyway, renewable energy cannot substitute for coal. I mean, it will take many years to create that kind of capacity. So you're not going to have a solution. But the only plausible solution is the government will probably have to take steps to ration fuel and energy. And hopefully it won't be in the form of power cuts. But some steps will have to be taken if this continues. Because all countries are doing this. I mean, you don't want to completely run out of energy like what happened to us in 2022 when we had no petrol and diesel and you completely ran out. That evasive action will have to be taken. Of course, we have our Audu season coming, so then all the factories, etc. shut down. So all of this have to be factored in.
On the invitation of the government of Sri Lanka, the United Nations flagged vessel RV Dr. Friof Nansen under the Food and Agriculture Organization is scheduled to arrive in Sri Lanka today to conduct a marine scientific survey in Sri Lanka's exclusive economic zone in collaboration with the Ministry of Fisheries, Aquatic and Ocean Resources and the National Aquatic Resources Research and Development Agency. RV Dr. Fridtjof Nansen supports countries in collecting critical scientific data for sustainable fisheries management and in understanding how climate change is affecting marine ecosystems. The survey, spanning 32 days, will focus on assessing marine living resources and marine ecosystems, providing updated scientific data that will support Sri Lanka's sustainable fisheries management and ocean governance. During the mission, scientists will undertake a range of activities, including hydroacoustic surveys to estimate the biomass and distribution of key fish stocks in Sri Lankan waters, assessment of marine pollution levels, and biodiversity monitoring. An important component of the program is capacity building. The mission will bring together Sri Lankan scientists from NARA and other national institutions with international experts, promoting scientific collaboration and knowledge exchange. Sri Lanka previously hosted the RV Dr. Fridtjof Nansen in 2018, when the vessel conducted a comprehensive survey of the Sri Lanka's continental shelf and upper slope in collaboration with national institutions. Earlier, Nansen surveys were also carried out in Sri Lankan waters in 1978 to 1980, reflecting a long-standing scientific partnership under the Nansen program. Sri Lanka's participation in this survey reflects the country's continued commitment to sustainable fisheries, marine ecosystem protection, and international scientific cooperation in the Indian Ocean region.
On the stock market update, the Colombo Stock Exchange ended today's trading negatively. The All Shares Price Index closed at 22,351.55 after falling by 26.97 points, which represents a 0.12% change. The S&P SL20 index closed at 6,279.70, down by 0.72 points and 0.01%. Total market capitalization at the close of trading stood at 7.947 trillion rupees. Market turnover for the day amounted to 4.320 billion rupees, with 219.93 million shares traded.
Moving on with your weather update for tonight, several spells of showers will occur in the Uva province and Batiklo, Ampara and Hambantota districts. Showers or thunder showers may occur at a few places in western and Saparagama provinces and in Galle, Matara, Kandy and Nuwara districts. Mainly fair weather will prevail elsewhere over the island. We'll take a look at foreign news after this short break. Taking a look at your foreign developments for tonight, a resolution has been submitted to the United Nations Security Council urging Iran to immediately cease the attacks targeting countries in the Middle East region.
A vote is scheduled to be held today on this special resolution, which was presented to the UN Security Council by Bahrain.
Resolution highlights a strong condemnation of the attacks carried out by Iran amidst current tensions in the Middle East. It calls for an immediate halt to attack directed at Bahrain, Kuwait, Oman, Qatar, as well as Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates and Jordan. Additionally, Bahrain has emphasized in its resolution that offensive activities carried out by various proxy groups must also be suspended immediately. It is reported that a request has been made to the Security Council to take these steps to ensure regional stability. It is reported that the number of internally displaced persons within Lebanon has reached nearly 800,000 in the face of Israeli attacks. According to the latest data released by Lebanese Ministry of Social Affairs, over 780,000 people are currently displaced. Approximately 120,000 of them are staying in official shelters maintained by the government. Meanwhile, steps have been taken to withdraw United Nations peacekeepers who were stationed in the border town of Alma Ashab. Foreign media state that United Nations representatives were removed from the area due to the highly dangerous situation. In response to attacks targeting Iran's banking sector, Iran has warned that it will carry out attacks on American and Israeli economic centers and banks located in the region. The Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps has stated that they will target financial institutions belonging to the American administration within the region. Consequently, an announcement has been made advising residents in the area to stay at least 1 kilometer away from the relevant banking system. Iran has further emphasized that these severe measures are being taken in response to attacks targeting its own economic centers. Meanwhile, a special telephone conversation has been taken place between the Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi and Qatari Prime Minister Sheikh Mohammed bin Abdul Rahman Al Thani. During the call, the Chinese Foreign Minister emphasized that as a permanent member of the United Nations Security Council, China always stands for internal justice. He also pointed out that the use of force against Iran by the United States and Israel without the approval of the Security Council is a violation of the United Nations Charter. In the meantime, Russia has condemned the attacks carried out by Israel last Sunday against civilians in southern Lebanon.
On sports news, the big match between St. Thomas's College Mount Lavinia and Royal College Colombo will commence at SSC Grounds, Colombo tomorrow.
And the match occupies second position among the oldest school big matches around the world. Royal Thomian Big Match, termed as the Battle of the Blues, will be played at the SSC Grounds Colombo for 3 days for the 147th time. 146 big matches have been played between the two colleges so far, and both teams have won 36 matches each. Out of them, 74 matches have ended in draws. St. Thomas's College Mount Lavinia won the big match played last year. Royal College recorded a victory in 2023 for the last time. Rohan Piris leads the Royal College team this year, while the St. Thomas's team is led by Abhinash Fernando. And with that, we conclude the night news bulletin for you on Sri Lanka Rupavahini Corporation, bringing news stories tomorrow as well, same time, same place. It's me, Sonal, alongside Dulanjali, signing off. Have a good night.
Good night.